Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us remotely, we have Scott Cutler. He's the CEO of StockX to discuss the world's first stock market for all things. Scott, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining in what's certainly unprecedented times. Tell us more about StockX and the platform.
Thanks, Jill. It's great to join you. So StockX, for those that are not aware of the brand of the company, is an e-commerce marketplace for buying and selling high-demand consumer goods. Those goods today include items such as sneakers, apparel, accessories, and collectibles. And very similar to the stock market, our platform connects buyers and sellers of these high-demand consumer goods using price dynamics similar to how the stock market operates. And this approach to e-commerce is unique and novel because it provides transparency around real-time pricing of these high-demand consumer goods and also allows both buyers and sellers to determine and transact based on what they perceive as the fair market value of these items.
Well, how do you address being anonymous on the platform and then authenticating these higher-end goods that come onto StockX?
Sure, two things. First, anonymity. As we're all aware in modern financial marketplaces, such as the New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq, we're very familiar in transacting in those marketplaces where we don't know who the buyer or the seller is on the other side of the transaction. We're just focused on buying a share of a product. We have that same view that consumers want products. And as long as we can create a trusted platform, it's irrelevant for the buyer to know who the seller is. And in terms of authenticity, the thing that we've done differently than every other third-party marketplace is that we stand in the middle of the transaction between the seller and the buyer to authenticate the product for its condition. And that it protects the brand, it protects the customer experience, and is the highest level of service that any third-party marketplace provides and creates a very intentional, trusted experience for buyers on our platform.
What about the most popular brands? What are the trends that you're seeing?
The most popular brands on our platform include Nike, Adidas, Louis Vuitton, again, consumer goods, consumer brands that represent the most sought-after brands by today's consumers. Our consumer is a little bit different than others in that 75% of our buyers are under the age of 34. So we're capturing that millennial and Gen Z buyer that's inspired by what they see out there on the feet and on the bodies of celebrities and athletes and influencers and want access to those items.
Yeah, it's such an interesting way to get the younger generation on board with higher end consumer goods. Let's talk about the technology. Is it similar to traditional market technology? Because your background is so interesting, you know, former head of global listings at New York Stock Exchange, senior positions at StubHub and eBay. I would imagine some of that experience also transcends into how the technology works on StockX.
Yeah, so we're, from a technology standpoint, we are a platform, and that platform simply matches buyers and sellers on a platform. And as we talked about, in an anonymous, transparent, very visible way. And so we're a platform that provides that connectivity, but we're also very involved in the operational side of getting goods from a seller to a buyer. So we have authentication centers around the world. When a transaction is completed on the platform, that item is sold to or sent to StockX. We authenticate that product and then sell it to, or we send it to the buyer. And so in that respect, we're both a e-commerce platform that connects buyers and sellers, and we're also involved in operations and delivery and logistics to get those products to those buyers and sellers anywhere they are around the world.
All right, and to wrap up here, COVID-19, how are you responding to the StockX community, and how is it impacting your industry in general?
Well, as an online marketplace, we're not experiencing the same massive dislocations that are happening in traditional retail, which today, across many cities and countries, is closed. We've actually had tremendous traffic and buyers coming to the site because they have not been able to access goods in traditional fashions. We've already seen that trend happening, and I think we've been fortunate so far that our volume and traffic numbers have been unaffected by the events. And I think what we're seeing now, similar to the markets, is that we see certain high-priced items that are now being reflected by pricing. And so we've seen prices of some items drop relative to demand and supply. But again, as what we've seen compared to the markets, we've seen a lot less volatility and a lot less price declines in these asset categories as sneakers. So for example, my portfolio of sneakers is up more than my portfolio in the S&P as an example.
That's interesting. Wow. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us, and hope everyone at StockX is staying well.
Thanks so much.
All right, and thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.